For companies to grow, they really need to invest, and for manufacturing that often means buying capital-intensive equipment, which can be expensive. We're here at the Lloyds Bank Advanced Manufacturing Training Centre near Coventry to find out what Lloyds Bank is doing to help companies to make that investment. So David, we're here at the Manufacturing Technology Centre, part of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult, a place like the other 6 centres designed to help companies get from a sort of low research level into market with working products. And one of the things people have lamented about the dearth of manufacturing in the sort of middle between SMEs and big companies is the lack of skilled people to come in and do these jobs. But you're doing something about it. Well, what are you doing at the MTC?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Will. We recognise this as a major challenge for the industry, and one of the most common features as a restrainer of growth and taking advantage of new opportunities, and that is the lack of skills. So we committed a few years ago to sponsor around 1,000 trainees, apprentices and graduates here at the Advanced Manufacturing Training Centre with a £5 million investment over 5 years to support and try and support the issues that the sector faces into. I'm delighted to say that our first 36 high-value manufacturing apprentices went out into industry last September, and a number of those into SMEs across the country.
That's a great track record in such a short space of time, and you're funding that through until 2018, £1 million a year.
Yeah, that's correct, yes. So it's a £1 million a year sponsorship for 5 years with a view to supporting well over 1,000, as I say, apprentices, graduates and trainees out into manufacturing during that time.
Now, Lloyds is a bank, among others, that are very active in manufacturing. You do a lot of work in there. You've got this £1 billion fund, I think, where you're committed to lend £1 billion worth of capital to businesses in the manufacturing sector in 1 year. What other areas are you doing specifically to help precision engineering companies and manufacturing businesses?
Well, I guess the lifeblood of any business is not just necessarily borrowing money to invest into capital equipment and machinery and plant, albeit that's an important part of progression and growth. Of course, the lifeblood of any business is their working capital. Understanding how that cash actually flows through that business and how they can benchmark themselves against their peers to understand and explore with their manager at Lloyds to see if there are different ways of managing their cash flow, which sometimes can actually mean that if we can help them understand how to release some of that cash, that can actually support growth without the need to actually borrow.
So it really isn't a loan form of capital release. It's about educating companies that have capital inherent, intrinsic in their company, how to release it. How does that work?
Absolutely right, Will. So there are a number of component parts of a company's working capital. So they'll have stock, they'll have raw materials, they'll have inventory, they'll have debtors and they'll have creditors. And how they manage those and the relationship between them can create or can absorb cash. And what we want to try and do is use the new tool that we've recently launched with the trained managers locally on the ground to be able to explore opportunities with companies about how to manage those different component parts of working capital differently and explore ways of releasing cash to give them the opportunity to grow.
Now, just down the road from the MTC, or a few miles down the road, is the Warwick Manufacturing Group. I think Lloyds Bank set up an initiative with WMG 2 or 3 years ago to educate your relationship managers a lot more about manufacturing. Is that correct, and how does it work?
It is absolutely correct, Will. So what we did a few years ago, one of the challenges that we had back from industry was that your managers don't understand the sector. So we wanted to do something about that. So whilst we've been looking after manufacturers for well over 250 years now, we were indeed actually founded by industrialists in the heart of Birmingham. We have developed an education programme around manufacturing awareness. So our managers, in conjunction with the University of Warwick, supported by the Warwick Manufacturing Group, actually go on a week-long accreditation course and have to take a dissertation to demonstrate their understanding of manufacturing and the environment with which manufacturers operate in. So things like 5S, Lean, Six Sigma, Kanban, and techniques like that are all very familiar terminology, and it does help liven up a conversation when our managers are walking around local businesses and walking around the factory floor. It really does bring to life both the opportunities and the challenges that those small businesses face, helping us to shape and support those businesses with the opportunities that they face into.
So David, sometimes there's reluctance to borrow money to buy plant and equipment, partly because of the risk, but also the cost. That hasn't been such a big issue in recent years with low interest rates. But in terms of business reluctance to invest and expand, there are grants, incentives and schemes all around the country that can help businesses to make a borrowing decision. What do you think about the landscape for these initiatives?
Well, I think you're right there. Well, I know you're right. There are quite literally hundreds and hundreds of grant schemes and loan schemes available. I think the feedback from manufacturers to us on the ground quite frequently is we know there's support out there. However, there's so much we don't quite know what to go for, and therefore the landscape has just become so confusing. They're probably missing opportunities to take advantage of support that is there. So whether it be through the government schemes such as capital allowances or R&D tax credits, where we'd recommend that you go and talk to a tax advisor or your accountant to get some help and support there, or whether it be through some of the multitude of and the plethora of grants and initiatives through local enterprise partnerships. Either talk to your local manager on the ground who will probably be aware of some of the more familiar ones that they can steer you towards, or just approach the local enterprise partnership directly. They will have a detailed understanding of what is available in their local communities, in their local areas. And if you don't know who to talk to your manager and or talk to the team at Lloyds, and we'll be delighted to connect anyone into their local enterprise partnership to find out more. It's a shame when there is so much support there to miss out on the opportunity just because of a confusing landscape.
Well, David Atkinson from Lloyds Bank, lots of opportunities to borrow, schemes, grants and other supporting mechanisms. They're all out there. Lloyds Bank can help you navigate those, and so can the LEPs, the local enterprise partnerships, and Lloyds is certainly doing plenty for manufacturing.